Good day, guitar kids. This is Devin Townsend, and welcome to my home video. Today, I'll be explaining various techniques that I use in order to create my big old rock and roll sound. So, I hope you've all got your sticky fingers ready for some rocking, and we'll continue with boogieing after this short break. All right there, ladies and joims, here's the skinny. When I play my songs, I use a different tuning. The tuning is actually from a Led Zeppelin song called Friends, and it goes as follows. From the low string to the high string, C, G, C, G, C, E. I'll play the guitar, you tune to me. Together, we will rock. Ready? I am C. G. Another C. Another G. Yet another C. And finally, the out-of-place E. It even sounds like an E, too, doesn't it? It goes E. So, there you are. If you didn't get it that time, rewind the tape and tune up to me again. So enough horsing around now. Now it's time to get down to business. The first thing I would like to discuss with you is the scales that I use in this particular tuning. The reason I've chosen this tuning to write all my music in is because it eliminates any stress. It's a very easy tuning to navigate in. What I've done is I've created scales in order to solo in, and they all require the exact same fingering up and down the neck. The first scale I will show you is C major, and it happens up and down. Are you ready? Starting from the low string, here we go. Second scale. What I do with all these patterns is if I need to do a solo in the key of C, I just use any of these in any order, and you're fine. Let me demonstrate. The next thing I'd like to explain to you is a warm-up that I've used for the past couple of years. It's a very natural position for your hands to fall into in this tuning, and it works well all over the neck with all positions. I'd like to play it for you fast, then I'll play it for you slow a couple of times, a bit faster, and then full speed again. The lick itself, up to speed, sounds like this. One more time. Like I said, you can use it all over the neck. You can move it up. Slowly now, it sounds like this. A little bit faster. Now up to speed again. That's a warm-up to keep you going before we start. So just try and practice that over and over, up one fret at a time, and just keep going up and down the neck doing that lick. Let me explain. By playing it. Up and down the neck. That's a warm-up for you to get you started before we get into the more hectic stuff. And now comes the time for my favorite topic. The topic is rhythm guitar. A lot of times rhythm guitar is overlooked in lieu of the lead guitar as not being very important. I've seen many people who can play very good lead but very poor rhythm. The idea behind my rhythm technique is I play very hard, I use hard picks, the triangular types. What I'm trying to get across here is the weight of the rhythm. In order to play heavy, you have to have weight in your guitar playing. You can't play the rhythm like without any weight behind it. What you need to do is you really need to push the strings. You push into this leg. Dun, 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 dun. You're like taking the energy of your fingers and you're pushing it into the floor with your leg. But the right hand has to hit the strings in a specific way. Let me demonstrate. These two fingers, your little finger and the finger above, what I tend to do with that is grab or brace them against the high E string. What that enables me to do is grab the strings with more pressure. I play the pick against the strings on an angle, because if it's on an angle, it crunches. So with these two techniques together, you crunch. If you're loose, it doesn't have the same effect. If you grab onto the E string and push on an angle, you get a really deep sound. Let me demonstrate this again. As you've probably noticed from playing around in this tuning for a while now, it doesn't feel quite the same as standard tuning. The chords that you're probably used to using in the normal tuning just don't seem to work in this one. Allow me to shed some light on this situation by explaining to you some of the chord voicings that I use in order to make myself clear in this particular tuning. The first one I would like to show you is what I would call an in-between chord. If you have two chords that you're trying to get to, starting on, say, a C and then going to a D, instead of going I use this chord in order to get between the two. So the fingering for this chord is as follows. That chord works to get between two chords at all times. I'll show you how that works elsewhere up and down the neck. It's a very lush chord. You can use it in many different contexts. I used it on a record and it sounds like this in this particular context. What I've tried to accomplish with this tuning is I've tried to make the fingering for the chords as simple as possible so you don't have to think too much when you're on stage. That's the first chord I'd like to show you. The second chord I'd like to show you is a very standard power chord position in regular tuning. However, when you play the regular finger positions in this tuning, you get a suspended second, and it sounds like this. Now, what I've done with this chord is it works really well on the A string. You can play it like this. That's a combination of those two chords. The best thing about this tuning, though, I would have to say, is the fact that you can play big chords with one finger. It's a C major tuning, so you can play There's some chords for you to play around with. You'll notice as you play around that those three chords themselves will come in very handy for writing music. I would like to discuss with you now a shuffle beat. A lot of people get messed up when they start having to change from your basic 4/4 rhythm to a shuffle beat. I would like to explain to you a very easy way to learn how to do a shuffle beat. What I would suggest is that you start by using a metronome, or if you can't find a metronome, use your foot and start to keep the time. And with your right hand, I want you to get back into using the guitar like you did when you were very young. When I was very young, my father taught me how to do a strum, and a strum is very important in order to learn how to do a shuffle. Now let me strum the strings here. Down, up, 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 down, 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 up, down, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. Now you want to be able to keep this going. This is a good exercise in order to learn what I'm going to teach you next. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now keep that going. Now what I would like you to try doing is I would like you to try doing the big heavy picking style that we had discussed earlier in a shuffle mode. The down, up, down, up. It would sound like this. 2, 3, 4. foot going. Don't mess up like I did. Now, the next thing I would like to discuss with you as far as a shuffle beat is concerned is opening it up and making it part of a rhythm. So watch my hand and what I'm doing here. It's just very loose. All the action is moving from my wrist. The ideas are limitless. Go, learn how to shuffle, and boogie on home, Big Daddy. This is my favorite guitar. I've had this buggy for a little while, and it's a Ronnie Wood model ESP Telecaster. Let's start with the pickup. All the pickups I use are the EMG 81s because they provide you a lot of crunch in the low end without breaking up. This pickup here is a dummy. It actually doesn't work, and it's held on by a homemade faceplate. This is made out of a piece of electrical board, and it had a little picture on there, but it got rubbed off after years of use. Let me see what else. We've got a maple neck, standard fretboard, standard tuning pegs, and the heaviest wood I could find. I find that the heavier the guitar is, the more substantial it feels, the more I can gauge the quality of it. Hugga, 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 hugga. We'll go over to this one here. This is a brand new ESP one of mine. This is the Infinity model, as you can tell by the craftily titled little cheeseoid bit there. And it's a maple neck, EMG 81 pickup there, Roland MIDI pickup to run a synthesizer at the same time, and a Floyd Rose sustainer that can provide a lot of sustain going up and down there. Funny thing about them sustainers providing sustain. Oh God, I'm getting tired. So that about does it for the guitars. I could do a dance for you if you'd like, but it probably wouldn't sell you anymore. So we'll go on to the amps next, but we have to do a bit of a cut and go to these next commercial messages. Here, my friends, is a very dubious topic. The topic is soloing. For a long time now, guitar solos have been considered to be very cheesy. And the reason is because it's very easy to overstate what you're trying to put across. When you're playing guitar solos just without a band, it's okay just to rip and have fun. But for me, what I try and do is I try and keep the solos to accentuate the song. What I mean by that is if the song is in a key of C, I try and make sure that the solo copies or at least contributes to the melody line of the song. I remember listening to an old Cars song, and Rick Ocasek, the guitars for the Cars, was very good at this. He would be able to take the song, and when it came time for a solo, the solo spoke as a piece of art unto itself. What I can explain to you as far as soloing from my perspective is if you're playing in the key of C, like we've played before, that key, you can use the scales that I showed you in the beginning to do anything with. Now, pretending that the band is playing in a key of C with a shuffle beat, what I can do is I can play my guitar with those scales and use some of the rhythm techniques that I've showed you before and come up with something like this. The whole idea here is to stay in key. For me, it's very important that the music all works together as a whole. When I play guitar, it's a very mental process for me. I don't think of it in terms of technique. I don't think of it in terms of how fast I can play. I think of it in terms of music. And music for me comes from everywhere. You have to listen to your head. That's the most important key that I can tell you, is listen to the music that's already playing in your head. Close your eyes if you have to. Keep your foot going, but just listen to what you're doing. For example, what I'm doing is I'm staying within the keys, I'm staying within the scales that I had showed you earlier, but what I'm trying to get across is as long as I know my boundaries, as long as I know the parameters in which my music is going to be kept, I can continue to solo day after day. Now, what I would like to also point out is that you have to remember what key you're in. You have to remember where you're going to be playing at all times, because it's far too easy just to go. It happens so many times that you see people just doing it for the sake of it. For me, a solo should speak like a vocal. The guitar should be just like your voice. It should speak, it should sing, it should all come out of your head through your hands. In the next section, I'll show you some of my soloing techniques that might help you play a little bit faster. And towards the end of the video, we'll all start putting it all together so we can start making music with the guitar. Here's a couple of soloing ideas for you that may help you play in the key of C that we've been working in. Now, what I've tried to do here is I've tried to keep all the little licks and things that I'm doing for you in the same scales that we've been learning all the way through the video. I'll play this one fast for you, then slower, and then we'll work it all in up to speed. Sounds like this. Slowly now, it sounds like this. What you'll notice with this is it's all from the scales that we had worked before. This one here is our fourth position. I'm just selecting notes from there and playing them randomly. This next one and the next one is from the second position. So what is ending up happening is we're using the scales that we already know in different ways so we can continuously create new music. Let me play that one again for you slowly. A bit faster. First three are hammer-ons. Now up to speed. The next lick I would like to show you continues in the key of C, and it starts on the 12th fret. This one is basically just an ascending run starting in the major key of C on the 12th. Slowly. A little bit faster. Now what we can do here is we can start making solos all in the key of C that sound great just because they're all playing with the same echoes. A lot of what I do in a solo is I utilize my echoes. Now the echo continuously plays the notes that you were playing before, and if everything that you're doing harmonizes with those notes, you get a big, nice orchestral sound. Let me demonstrate with the two licks that I've already showed you. While we're on the topic of me being a whore, let me just explain to you what I use for my amplification. First off, everybody look at the PV5150, Mr. Eddie Van Halen's choice. The preamp I use on the lead channel at about 7, the low at about 6.5, mid, none. Who needs any of that mid? Not I. The high at about 3.5. Post gain, there's your volume wherever you want it to be. Your resonance at about 7 and your presence at about 5.5. I run this with an AB box to a Roland GP100 in which I use all my echo and chorus and all my flangey poops. And that keeps it all going in there from that. Keeps it all going in there from that. It's been a long day and this is what we use. What do you think of that? Next part we talk about you. What are you doing tonight? Hey, you're looking good. Well, I've been sitting here for a couple hours, and let me tell you, my buns are sore. They're all flat and hating it. But that's okay, because we're in it for the metal, and the metal's coming back at us. Right? Right. So, the next part I'd like to go over would be tapping. The sweeping will come later, but at first, we've got tapping. It's another technique that can be overused, and I tend to overuse it as well, but it can sound really nice. It can sound really like a keyboard in this particular tuning. Now what I would like to show you is one of the licks that I've been using for quite a while, and I'll play it fast, slow, and in between, and then fast again. Starting on the B string. Up to speed, it sounds like this. One more time, slowly. A little bit faster now. Now this particular rhythm you can use anywhere in the key. That was just in the first position of the scales. What I do now is I go up to the third position and tap on another note that's in the fifth scale. So it goes like this. Or you can do it up to this one. What I do with this is it's so easy because it's the same thing over and over again. Now what I can do is I can go up and down the neck with this and it sounds like I'm doing something really intricate, when in actual fact I'm doing really, really lazy riffs. Sounds like this. Same thing over and over again, but what I'm doing is I'm just moving it up and down the neck. Now we can start incorporating everything we've learned so far as soloing goes, and we get something like this. All in the same key, very easy. All you've got to do is practice it and eventually it comes. Next we'll go over some sweeping. but you have to see this first. Now, sweeping is something that tends to be used very masturbatorily. Is that a word? It's a word now, masturbatorily. It's a southern term for melting wax. Actually, no, it's meaning masturbation. Now, the reason why I say that is it's so easy to play fast when you do sweeping, and it's so easy to make people think that you actually know what you're doing while you're sweeping. Allow me to demonstrate. It sounds like I'm doing something really intricate, when in fact I'm doing something very simple. The lick that I'm going to show you is from a song on the Infinity record entitled Ants. Now, it's a very simple lick, but sped up, it sounds very nice. Allow me to show you what it sounds like sped up. Here it is. One more time for those of you who are asleep. Now, slowing that bugger down, take a look at the left hand first. It plays groups of 3. Now, it's very simple how this works. I'll play each note separately, picked. It's the same 3 strings. If you're going to be playing it, for example, quarterly, it works like this. All 3 notes. Now what I'm doing in the beginning is you pick the first one, hammer onto the second one, and then you do a sweep from the top 3 strings. So again. And then hammer on the top one. And pick it on an up pick on the way down. So it goes. Practice that a couple of times. Now the next thing you do is you slide up to the next phrase. So it goes. That's how it works, over and over. Now speeding it up a bit more. And now finally up to speed. You can use this up and down the neck. It's a fairly tasteless lick, but it's a lot of fun to play. Now that's how the sweeping goes with this one. You sweep the top 3 strings. Now another sweeping exercise I tend to use a lot is the all 6 string sweep. Now what this actually comes from is it's a derivative of a major chord in tuning that is normal, A440. Starting in A, or in this case whatever that ends up being, I have no idea. 5th fret. 5, 9, 7, 7, 6, 5, 5, 9. Like a major chord, like this. And you go. That's one of my little sweeping licks that tends to go up and down like this. There you go. Some fun licks for your listening pleasure. The next section right now for you. A lot of people have problems with the idea of playing guitar while singing. Now, I've come up with a sort of a technique here that I can use to teach you how to do this. It requires a lot of counting, and it also requires a lot of mental preparation. I'm going to play the part as it will sound when we're finished, and then we'll start to dissect it and figure out exactly what it is that makes it tick. It would sound like this. Every dream I have wants me to stay. Now, what we'll start with is the rhythm itself. Now, the rhythm would be a 4 count. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Every dream I have wants me to stay. Now, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to land each word on a specific beat. 3, 4. Every dream I have wants me to stay. That's on the beat. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. Every word I say is on the 1 and the 3 of the beat. 3, 4. Every dream I have wants me to. You just keep rehearsing this. 3, 4. Every dream I have wants me to. Now remember, each word that you sing is on the 1 and the 3 of the beat. Now let's try and incorporate the guitar. We're not going to put any of the voices in yet. We're just going to play the chord. The chord is on the 9th fret. 3, 4. Every dream I have wants me to stay. Keep your foot moving to the beat, and in your head, keep counting it. Every dream I have wants me to stay. Now what you can do is every time you're looking for a vocal pattern, you just keep it in terms of numbers. If you try and think of it in terms of words, if you try and go, oh God, every dream, you get confused. It's very easy to get confused while you're singing it. But if you think of it as terms of which number of the beat you sing, every 1, 3. Those are the 2 notes that you think. Every time I put a song together, when I sing it in the studio, I think in terms of how the vocals go. But as soon as I take it into a live situation, I have to tear the song apart and isolate which note the vocals go on. We've started off with a very simple vocal track, but as you work up, you'll find that it becomes easier and easier. Your hands start playing one rhythm and your vocals start singing another ones. But actually they're connected through the tempo itself. So there you are. I hope that gives you some help. that just about concludes my video, and I'd like to thank all of you who've purchased this, or anybody who's gotten some insight from it. I certainly don't claim to be a wonderful guitar player, but I can get my point across, and I think that's probably the most important part about being a musician. If you can use any of this, please remember that it's all for the purpose of making beautiful noise. And I thank you again. Domo arigato gozaimasu. How's that? Is that okay? Thank you. I'll see you next time. Sayonara.